Okay, so now that we have actually pinned it up, we're now going to stitch it down. This will just give us a nice clean edge. I have this as a zigzag stitch. You can of course do a cover stitch. We basically just want to hold it down in place. Alternatively, if your fabric does not fray, you don't need to do this at all. This machine, actually, I've had some issues getting the ballpoint needles for this machine, so this may end up skipping, so don't mind my stitches. So we're going to do this for each of these panels that I have pinned. My swim fabric will be a lot of fun here. Let's see if it, well, actually it works better on my swim fabric. Just stab myself. If you're wondering why I'm lifting this up manually, because the leg lift on this machine has been broken since we moved to Florida. So. Sure why it doesn't like this fabric. Okay, so we're going to line this up. Remember that we were going to fold this one up. Clip our threads later. So we're going to fold this one up, so this is the visible pocket. Then we're going to fold this one down. Oops, wrong side. So we have our little notches there. That's our fold point. So when we look at this, we're going to line these up. I'm just going to throw a couple pins to hold it in place. And I may actually run a little basting stitch over here to hold everything in place before I move it, before I attach it with the overlock machine. And okay, so there's first one, so we have our little pocket in there. This is going to be the other one, so you've got your folded up edge. You fold that up. And then this one is folded under. I love this fabric print. Got this in Miami last year, and I've been dying to make myself a bathing suit out of this. But I need something supportive, so this is my compromise. Plus, my daughter already told me that she wants a bathing suit that matches mine, so that means I have to save some of this fabric for her. Okay, so we have our two side panels, and I'm just going to now change my machine to a straight stitch, and I'm just going to baste it together right on the edge. Big stitch. Yeah, it looks like my thread seems to be shredding, and I can't figure out why. I've got the needle in correctly, but it seems to just be shredding my thread. And if anyone's watching this and you have an idea why it keeps shredding my thread, let me know. I want to make sure I get this. And I could sew, basically do the whole thing all the way up, but I'm not really worried about that. It's going to, the threads are going to pop anyways. I just wanted to get the pocket secure. So now I'm ready to line these up to my front. So here is my front pattern piece. And I know I'm going to have a 3/4 of an inch or about a 20 millimeter finish at the bottom. So I'm just going to pin that to make sure that that is equal. Remember, these are going to have a little bit of an overlap. We sew it at 3/8 of an inch, so right where that 3/8 of an inch lines up, that is where we start them off. Definitely get these pinned together because you do have a couple layers going on in here, but we also have a couple different shapes going on. And everything should walk together perfectly, providing you cut everything correctly. Okay, so we've got that side lined up. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And now I've got the same amount at this side as I do on this side. Get my overlap up here correct. Actually, I can turn my machine off because I'm done with this one right now. If you do baste this stitch, do not be surprised if when you pull it on over your head that these threads will snap. We're going to be stitching it with, I'm going to stitch it with the overlock machine, but you can certainly stitch it with like the lightning stitch or zigzag. So you'll allow for the stretch. But do not sew this like just to wear with a straight stitch, otherwise it will pop on you as you're wearing it. Okay, so we've got our fronts ready to be overlocked. If we want, we can go ahead and get our backs too. So I got my back, my right side towards it, that's the, yeah. So I got my wrong side up. And this is kind of easy to do. Might as well just do it all at one time so I don't have to get up and down. And this here, we should have that same amount of overlap we had in the back, or in the front. This is for the back. Listen to that motor. And of course, once you have all of the skirt done, then you can attach it to the top. About the same amount over here. Somehow I keep managing getting all these weird pins that I did not have previously. There we go. Okay, now that everything's pinned, I'm going to go to the overlock machine and I'm going to stitch this at 3/8 of an inch. If you do not have an overlock machine, like I said, you can use the lightning stitch, when the lightning stitch kind of has like a little zigzag like this. So it looks kind of like as a diagonal, so you can do that. It looks like a straight stitch. You just need to make sure that stitch is at the 3/8 of an inch mark. If you do a zigzag, I'd probably do kind of a small zigzag, or even kind of like the one that goes a zigzag and then dot 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 zigzag dot dot dot. So that way you have some stretch and give on there. Anyways, that's it. Okay, so the next step is going to be to stitch all these seams together. And this one I'm doing with my overlock. I'm going to line this up. This one's going to trim off 1/8 of an inch because my stitch is 1/4. If you have a safety stitch, of course, it would be slightly different. You might not be trimming anything off. And if you don't know what a safety stitch is, just ignore what I just said. My pin to try and help get it in position sometimes. Okay, 2 more seams to go, and then the bottom is almost done. The skirt is done, except for the hem. We'll now need to attach this to the sports bra and then work on the hem. But there we go. So I'm about ready to attach the sports bra top to the bottom. Now I did not show how to sew the sports bra top because there's 2 different sports bras. There's the Laurel and there's the Christina, and you can use either of the tops, and there are videos for both of them. And what I ended up doing is I basically sewed the elastic onto the inside, and I actually shortened my strap by 1 inch. And that's just kind of what I noticed after making the blue one, is that I needed to shorten it by about 1 inch because it pulled down a little bit too much on me once the fabric was wet. This fabric is super stretchy and I needed support, so I actually backed it with the firmer fabric underneath it. And I also lined it out on the opposite stretch, so it would be a symmetrical design and it would look kind of fun together. I almost put this on the straps, but I was gonna waste a lot of fabric trying to get the exact same pattern on each one, so I figured that's fine. I went ahead and I overlocked most of the bottom together just to kind of keep it together because we're working with a bunch of different layers now. I've got the bottom all done. You can see I goofed a little bit. I must have stretched some fabrics. So the bottoms aren't totally equal. You know, once we do our hem, I'll just fold it under, and no one's going to even know, unless you know, you're the only one that's going to know. So definitely I stretched some fabric on both sides. And it might just be a setting on my overlock machine that I just need to reduce the tension so it stops pulling it so hard. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be attaching this one to here. And I'm actually going to do that before I do the hem. And I may change that on the instructions. Right now I have the hem before that. But I'm going to do this last, basically because of the sewing machine that I have to set up on. I have to move cameras all the way around. So I did the laurel. Now on the back, I ignored the cutout so I could just do it straight across. You of course can add that little cutout if you want. It just has a little keyhole, you know, design. And also on the front on this laurel, I actually scooped the neck so it wasn't sharp. It's just easier with it being swimwear. I didn't want too much pulling on it with the fabric. I was afraid it might rip. It's, you know, as long as it's sewn well, it should be fine. So we're now going to take, I'm going to kind of pull this inside out over here. So I got the bottom through the top. And what I want to do is I want to find this V. I want to find the center right here. Pin everything together. And then I need to find the center on this. Now I probably should have put a little notch, but I didn't. And what we're going to do is we're going to line these exact 2 points up. Right there. And I'm going to line this up over this way just a little hair. I can also do it on this direction, but what I will actually be doing, and I'll probably step away from the camera and do this real quick so I can show you. It's really quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch from here to here with a straight stitch machine and then go back and stitch from here to here. So it's 2 different actions of stitching, and I will do that and I'll come right back. Okay, so I just stitched this V. On this side it looks nice and neat. And I end up having a little bubble on the fabric over here. So we want to make sure that that is a nice smooth stitch. So it doesn't matter what's going on over on this side. What we want to do is we want to open it up and make sure that this looks nice and straight. And this actually looks really good. So this is good to go ahead and start pinning the rest of it. Now the princess seams on here do line up. And now when you're working with your stretch fabric, it may shift on you, so you may also want to go in, get this pinned, and go stitch right here. And kind of get these lined up right where they overlap at that 3/8. And actually I did that wrong on the other side. So kind of right where that is. Let's see. So where they're going to overlap, where they're going to be sewn at 3/8. Like that. I said, you may want to go in and just stitch that there. That way it doesn't move around on you. I'm just going to go ahead and pin. I'm not too worried about it. It's for myself, and I'm not too much of a perfectionist when it comes to my own sewing, and I'm not making this for anyone else, so I am kind of bending the rules a little bit. So I'm also looking right here that this fabric kind of moved over a little bit on me when I did that stitch. So I'm going to be really careful when I go through, and this is actually a spot I may want to fix with the straight stitch, or at least just be very careful. Okay, our side seams should line up. Go to the other side seam, and then I can do the back. I guess you don't need to see my phone. See, it's right there. Helps me line up to make sure everything's in screen. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of make sure that everything is nice and smooth in the back, everything lines up, pin it in the middle, and pin it on the sides, and then pin it over here. Okay, it's all ready to go to the overlock machine or zigzag or whichever stitch you're going to be doing. But basically I'm sewing this entire waistline together. Do not sew this together with a straight stitch, otherwise when you pull it over your head it will all pop and come undone. Thanks for watching. If you would like to have more content like this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment below. Thank you very much.